Good afternoon. This is Laurie Penney with Paulding.com, and I brought some guests here into the PCOM studio to talk to y'all about the Northwest Metro Atlanta Habitat for Humanity. My first guest is Bill Allen, and he is the director of the entire Northwest Atlanta area.
Well, actually, I'm the project director for something we're calling Restoring the American Dream, which is a 4-year initiative of Northwest Metro Atlanta Habitat.
And you have an assistant, which is Tamara Wilhite, and she is developmental director for the Paulding and Douglasville area, right?
Right. I cover everything in Douglas and Paulding County, and I have a satellite office in Douglasville.
Very good. And we have Chris Boyd with Ragsdale Heating and Air here. And Ragsdale Heating and Air is contributing to Habitat for Humanity for the housing here in Paulding, right? Their
Actually, it's all.
Okay, so Douglas and Paulding and Cobb. So y'all do houses and help out in all 3 of these counties. So what we brought you in today to do is y'all intend to have a big presence here in Paulding? Yes?
We'd love to.
Right. And what you're going to do is tell us why that's a benefit to Paulding. That's the main thing I think people are interested in, is understanding how it works. We have some myths about it as far as some type of low income, undesirable housing, and that absolutely is not true from what I understand. So let's start out with the ownership process and the misunderstandings associated with Habitat for Humanity in some areas.
I think that the easiest way to understand Habitat is think about a builder. Okay, a builder sells a home to cover the cost of the land, the cost of the building supplies, the cost of the labor, which is usually he has to pay his guys, and profit. If you eliminate profit and the cost of labor, because we use volunteers, all of a sudden that same house, a great starter home, becomes affordable. We can build a new house for $105,000. We're buying foreclosures and turning them into Habitat houses for about $70,000. Now, if we sold that, and we sell the houses at the cost of construction. Habitat doesn't give away anything.
Right.
Okay, they're all sponsored, so they're paid for by sponsors. But the family itself pays for the house by paying a mortgage that we write. Okay. So why is it good for the community? One, you're an employer, and you have people earning $20,000 to $40,000 a year. You know they can't afford a home, so they're renting at a high rate. Yes. If they could buy this house for $70,000 or $105,000, all of a sudden their monthly payment just went down from renting. They have more money to spend. They'll probably stay working with you, because now it's like, hey, I can have a house and raise my family on what I get paid. This is great.
That's a great benefit. What kind of range are we looking at? I know that y'all have exceptionally low interest rates. So what is kind of,
Zero. It wouldn't be right. We're a Christian organization. Old Testament teaches don't charge interest. That's where it comes from. But if you think about it, if we had a sponsor that sponsored a house, and then we charged interest to the family that we sold it to, it's almost like we're making interest money off a donation.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Just not right.
Exactly.
So, but what's interesting is when we write the mortgage for the family, and this gets back to why it's good in Paulding, that mortgage has terms that none of us have ever seen in a mortgage, okay? The first is you can't rent, okay? Now, there are no restrictions on our homes.
Right.
Okay, but contractually, when this family buys the house from us, if they rent, they default on the mortgage. Okay, so this house will never turn into low-income rental housing in Paulding.
Okay.
Second thing is they can't flip the house. They can sell it, but they have to come back to us. We buy it back for whatever they pay down on the mortgage. We flip it, in a sense, and sell it to another family.
Good.
So there's no threat that this house will all of a sudden be sold off to a landlord and turn into rental again with the rental.
And we did see that during the housing boom, is that homes were looked at as an investment. This was the for now home, and they were going to sell it and make a profit off of it. But we're not playing this game. Y'all are building homes, not investments for struggling people.
Right.
Okay.
They also can't borrow against it. if a lender, says, I'll loan you some money in exchange for a second mortgage or a home equity loan.
Right.
As soon as they look at the fact that we hold the mortgage, they'll say, nope,
No.
because the act of putting a lien on our house will form a default under that mortgage. Well, who would ever loan money if they couldn't get a lien on the house?
Exactly. So tell us a little bit more about who qualifies. What would be your perfect candidate for a Habitat for Humanity house?
Sure. They have to live or work in this county. They have to be a first-time home buyer. Now, we will consider somebody who has been like in Katrina, say, back when Katrina hit, and they moved here. They got reestablished, and they lost their home that way, and then they've been reestablished here. We will consider things like that.
Okay.
First-time home buyer, family size. Has to have an income to match their family size. That criteria is listed on our website, so they can go to our website, which is nwmetroatlantahabitat.org. That income to ratio is low to moderate. We're not looking for a family who can qualify for a typical mortgage.
Yes.
Because then they're going to go to a real estate agent.
Right.
We're not taking that from a real estate agent. Those people can go and buy a home.
Yes.
We're looking for those who cannot qualify for a
Yes.
mortgage.
But on the flip side of that, you're not really entertaining people that there's a high likelihood because of their income or job history that y'all will end up with the house back. Y'all are.
We're looking for those who have that income, and they
Right.
have to have a steady income. So we're going to look at all of that.
Yeah. That's
And
a
right
good
now,
thing.
that's about, in broad terms, family afford $20,000 to $44,000 per
Exactly.
year. So it gives you some idea of, and I think a lot of the employers in Paulding, once you say 20 to 44, they know what they're paying folks. So
Yes.
they have an inkling of who we're talking about. Obviously,
Right.
good work history,
Right.
good character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. They have to be willing to partner with us, which is sweat equity.
Now, tell me about the sweat equity. We talked about that a minute ago, and I found that very interesting.
Right. It's 300 hours of sweat equity, and they actually sign a partnership with us. 100 hours is working on somebody else's home. They do that first.
Okay.
That's the character check.
They are going to volunteer working on another person's habitat house
Okay.
building. So they're going to meet another homeowner to be, which is fantastic.
Yes.
They get to have that experience. That's 100 hours. And then they're going to have 100 hours in Living Smart classes.
Okay.
Okay? Those classes are educational classes. How to maintain your home, how to take care of your air conditioning, heating, how to budget, financial
Yes,
classes.
That's a,
So you can pay.
Very
Ragsdale
important classes.
To maintain your
Yes.
heating and air.
Right. All those classes are very important because they are becoming a first-time home buyer.
Yes.
And the last one is 100 hours on your own house.
Okay.
They are there every single time we're building. They're going to meet all the sponsors that are out there, all the volunteers, and that's very important as well.
And
'Cause-
if you think about that, the 100 hours on their house is not an issue.
right.
You know, by the time you've volunteered to help somebody else, you've gone to class, you've invested, and 100 hours, we say it all the time, we just throw it out there. But if you think about 100 hours, 8 hours on a Saturday is only 8 hours.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's
you
it.
still
You're
have,
working. You're not gonna
That-
get that easily. So
you still have
you're
10
asking them
more
to sacrifice.
just to get
This
to
is
80.
long-term
Right.
Right.
sacrifice. I think that's fantastic. And I wanted to talk to you about, we have a lot of foreclosures here. It's bad for our economy. First of all, I want to talk about how Habitat for Humanity helps us with those. And the second thing is to compare the normal foreclosure rate in Paulding to the foreclosure rate with Habitat for Humanity, because there's a big difference in that. So,
well, let's a little history on Paulding. You know Paulding's history better than I, but from the outsider's view, you went through a huge amount of starter home building.
yes,
Then the
bubble went.
the bubble went boom.
Yeah.
And you've basically been left with a lot of starter homes in foreclosure, okay? Given the fact that homeowners, some of those will be sold to homeowners and they'll set up shop and it'll be great. But a lot of them would be sold to folks who, as you said, investment,
Yeah.
will become landlords and rent them.
Yes.
Traditionally, across the country, those usually don't work out so well.
Yeah,
You want a better
literally,
ratio.
The neighborhood and houses tend to decay
Exactly.
Right.
when you have a lot of
When you
investment.
look for the crime and you look for the drugs, you'll find the rental. That's not to badmouth all rentals, but
Just to
it just
say,
there's a
it is what it
correlation.
is, yeah.
So what we say is, well, wait a minute, wouldn't you like to exchange those houses? Wouldn't it be great if an organization bought those houses and then had covenants and restrictions in the mortgage that they could not be rented?
Right.
And if they were ever sold, they would come back to us to be sold to yet another homeowner. They would
Right.
always be homeowner occupied, covenant restricted homes, okay?
So you break that cycle.
Exactly.
We're actually going to, as citizens of Paulding, this is actually a way for us to save ourselves and to save our investments.
Exactly.
So let's talk about a number or a goal of how many houses would you like to build in the next year in Paulding? Or-
The 4-year plan is 88 homes
Okay.
over 4 years. That's 19 the first year, 21, 23, 25. Not all those are going to be in Paulding, but they could be.
Yeah.
We're driven by where the dollars come from and what the donors want. So Ragsdale
Yep.
has been a
That's
huge
where I
supporter.
wanted to go, is with our donors, and kind of explain a little bit about how Ragsdale Heating and Air and other sponsors make this happen. I think it's very important.
This is home building, so it takes cash, or it takes building materials, services, and so forth. I think your viewers will like to know that we don't allow volunteers to work with the electrical and things like that. And we don't put volunteers on roofs. The insurance company doesn't like when they fall off. So basically, we have 3 areas of cost. We have to buy the land, we have to buy the building materials, and then we have to pay for the professional services, the electrical, the heating and air, and so forth. So if you think about, those are our costs. If we have that support, we can build a house, So we go to the building supply folks and say, will you, give us X number of trusses and wood and that kind of thing. And the ideal situation for them is, hey, you buy some, we'll give you some. Same with the professional services. Ragsdale's been nice enough to do all our houses, but they also donate,
Right.
the equivalent of $40,000 a year for 4 years. Fabulous. We love Ragsdale. We'd love to see.
Who doesn't love
There you go.
Ragsdale?
We'd love to see all the folks who are electrical, plumbing, and so forth do the same kind of thing. It reduces our costs, but it also gives them a body of work, okay, that they know we can count on them, they can count on us. We have a partnership.
So you're talking about businesses, that this becomes an effort to save our community also from the
Absolutely.
foreclosures and the dangers of that. But tell Art I said thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We always
I have
say
quite a
thank you
few
to
in
Art.
I have quite a few in my neighborhood, and I would be thrilled to have y'all come into my neighborhood and to do this, because both houses on either side of me went into foreclosure, and I cannot tell you how frightening it is when you look those houses up and you see that they're in the 30 and 40,000 range, and you see the people come, and you're like, oh no, you're not gonna own, and to end up, I was lucky. I did not get investors, but a lot of people aren't so lucky. So how do y'all begin to qualify these houses? Do y'all find them, or do you qualify the people and the people find them? Give us a little bit of the process.
Ideally, we're talking to the employers. Okay. Hospital. If you ask a hospital administrator, do you have anyone in the 20 to 44,000 range? They will say, absolutely. Who cleans the hospital? Who serves the food, and so forth? That tends to be their income level.
Right.
Well, our message is, and retail,
Yes.
and fast food and so forth. You can just think about Paulding and
Yes.
think about all the potential employers.
Yes.
That's really who we want to talk to.
Yeah.
Because the more the employers realize, hey, if we get involved with Habitat, not only broad brush, we're helping the community, but we're helping me.
Yeah.
I have people, if they qualify, odds are, they'll get a pay raise, okay, by going from high rent to a low mortgage payment. They have more money. They'll love me.
Yeah.
I'm the employer.
Well,
They'll stay working for me.
It makes a lot of sense, though, because a lot of people spend more time with their employer than they do with their spouse. So who better than to have an idea of a person's integrity of their work ethic than the employer? I really think that's an excellent
Right.
idea. So they need to be really good to their employers
Maybe.
if they want a Habitat for Humanity house.
They're actually one of the perks that we give to our sponsors. So if somebody comes on, whether it's Ragsdale or whether it's, a number of our other sponsors, if they have employees and they want to put them in a room, odds are 90% of those employees don't think they qualify for Habitat. Hey, I'm working. Habitat gives away houses to poor people, that kind of thing. So
that's what I thought, really.
We will, as one of the perks, if the employer wants to put all those folks in a room, we'll come out and talk to them.
Absolutely.
And say, here's how do you apply for a house. You are in that income bracket, that's great, but here are the sweat equity requirements. Here's, what the houses look like, those kind of things, and how to apply.
I have posters, I have a whole spill. I can come out and educate those people who think that they might or might not fit.
Well, we're going to get your address and your contact information, and we definitely are going to put that on the screen.
Maybe Chris will talk a little bit about.
Yes, that's where I was going. I
Ragsdale.
wanted to know about how did y'all get involved in it, and what y'all personally have seen in working with Habitat for Humanity.
The initial connection was actually a referral from someone who knows Habitat real well. And then the first phone call was, "Hey, I want to talk to you about becoming one of the partners of Habitat." And initially, I started thinking of all the contributions we're doing right now. Where could we fit it in? And then when I realized it's not just giving, there is business in there. There is a business involvement with Habitat. They are a customer, a paying customer. And then learning more, going to meetings, classes, job sites, talking to the employees of Habitat. I learned quickly that everybody that works with Habitat, their heart is in it. It's a different environment, and there's nothing about our partnership with Habitat that doesn't work for us, for Habitat, or for our employees who are doing work, or for the community.
So, you mentioned the quality of the houses.
That's huge to me. Going out and seeing it, because I see, through the new construction boom, the quality of houses, some good, some bad, and then going out and stepping into a Habitat house from the ground up, is their standard of building a house is, it sets the bar for your typical for-profit home builder that a lot of them can't meet.
Wow, I think that's
Earthcraft,
fantastic.
Energy Star, and that's not an accident. Back in '04, I don't remember who said this, okay, but it's one of my favorite quotes. When we were testing, hey, will you support us? This person said, yellow building ugly houses. And we took it to heart, okay? We went out, we found very qualified architects and builders to help us redesign our houses that basically met community expectations.
Right.
That led to Earthcraft, that led to Energy Star, but we did it on purpose. We got rid of the vinyl siding. It's hardy plank.
Yes.
If folks look at our picture, they're craftsman style. They have
Yes.
nice porches. Everything was done for a purpose. And the overarching theory is this: if you build what the community doesn't want, they won't give you any money.
Right, exactly.
If you build what the community likes and actually exceeds their expectation, they will continue to support you. And
Sure.
and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a partnership arrangement with the community
Yeah.
to do what we do, but also improve the community.
Well, I think that's where I want to go and talk to Tamara for a few minutes, because she is the boots on the ground here in Paulding, and y'all need some support from the business community. Can you
Absolutely.
throw out there, we know that you have heating and air, but who else do you need to partnership to make this work in Paulding County?
Really anybody, but if you're
Who
looking,
don't you have at this moment?
who don't we have? We would take any kind of company, not only cash, but we would also do in-kind donations like what Ragsdale is doing.
Right.
We would take a partnership for all three counties that we represent, Cobb, Douglas, and Paulding. we
Right.
would take a partnership just for Paulding.
Okay.
We have to raise the funds in order to do a renovation.
Right.
We have to raise the funds in order to do a new construction.
Okay.
To serve a family, those funds have to come forth in a way of cash or in-kind donations. It's a mixture.
So do y'all do fundraisers? Do y'all do a Habitat for Humanity $100 a plate type thing? Or how do y'all
We
raise
try
these
not to,
funds?
okay? And the reason, this is gonna get into theory here, but the overriding reason is if you act like a charity and you have fundraisers like a charity, people will continue to flop back into that you're giving away houses.
Okay, that
Our
makes good
message
sense.
is, we're not giving away houses.
Okay.
What we're trying to do in the community is partner with the community to improve, as you talked about, the rentals, the employment connection. We'd love to get some of the larger employers who have folks, and I won't mention any names, they know who they are, who have employees in that 20 to 40 to talk to us.
Yeah.
Because I think, I actually had a gentleman a couple of weeks ago, I was out in San Diego, and he looked at me and said, we started talking about the employment connection. He said, well, I've run hospitals. That's what he does. And it cost him $80,000 when one of his lower paid employees at a hospital leaves.
Yes.
Retraining, rehiring, then they have to do drug screening, and the
Yes,
list
it's
goes on.
very expensive. Turnover
It
is
is.
one of
Turnover.
the biggest
If you
expenses
can,
a business has.
if you know that you've provided this access to Habitat and your employees are taking advantage of it, the odds are they'll stay with you. So
Yeah.
for every homeowner, and we have a long list in our brochure of companies that have our homeowners working for them.
Yeah.
For every one of those, he's going to save $80,000. That's real money.
Yeah, that is real
and
money.
the more folks think about us that way, the more they'll realize this is not a charitable contribution. It's an employee retention. It's a team building. It's a community development investment. Yeah.
And we had discussed how this goes really back to the basics that we have forgotten, and that is the relationship between the employee and the employer.
Right.
You have to have a good relationship, or it just doesn't work.
Right.
If the person doesn't want
Everyone
to work for
benefits.
you, if you don't want them to work, if you don't want them there, they're the best you can do. We see this. We see this in turnover in a community. So I see this as building relationships, long-term, loyal employees.
Right.
It's huge in
And-
business.
And if they get into a Habitat house, it's interest-free.
Mm-hmm.
So that savings that they have and the difference of what they're paying in an apartment right now is going to come back to Paulding County.
In the
They're going to
spending in the
shop
community, yes.
in Paulding County.
Yes.
So the community is going to grow
Right.
economically because that money's going to come back into this county. So that's a win-win
Oh
situation.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's pretty good.
Also, right now, we're focusing on renovations. So we're going to take an empty house that is foreclosed on and occupy it again.
Yeah.
So it's going to come back to life. It's going to get renovated. So that empty home that could be broken into,
Yeah.
air conditioning could be stolen, copper pipe could be stolen,
Yes.
is going to get back restored
And be owned.
and be owned.
And that's
Taxes
good
are
for
going to
the
get
economy,
paid.
right?
you
Property
know.
values go up, that's tax revenues.
Right.
There's we've actually in our brochure run an economic impact of what
Oh,
we
yeah.
do.
Well, this economy was literally stressed so bad by the housing bubble that our county, and I am sure you might know a little bit about it, has had to turn to the businesses to
Right.
keep it running, and it's not fair. It's not fair that you have people that have lost their jobs, and if you hit them hard with the taxes, they're going to go under. So, to me, this is great. I mean, I know they turn to the businesses, a little bit higher taxes just to keep things going, and businesses can't operate like that indefinitely.
Right.
So we need to fill these houses. It's critical to the economy of this county to fill these houses. We are a bedroom community. And when the bedrooms are unoccupied, you don't even have that going for you. So,
You mentioned something about when you were talking about the employees. One of the things that I think that a lot of the employees would look at would be the pride. I'm not looking for a handout.
Absolutely.
Therefore, once they learn about it, once that employer takes that initiative to make sure that his employees know what Habitat's about, pride steps back in. Look what I've done to acquire this house.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And that's just it. We need to get the word in Paulding County, that everybody to understand what exactly Habitat stands for. It's not free housing at all.
Right.
It's helping somebody get into a mortgage. It's a step up in the world. It's getting Paulding County to have housing that is empty. It's getting somebody who works in this county, low to moderate income, into a home. And that's so important.
Yes.
Right.
And could you have done the numbers on the cost of, let's say, 4 people in the family, the cost of renting an apartment versus the mortgage that they're going to get through one of these homes?
Right.
If you look, you take our families over the last 2 years, you're roughly about 40 families. On average, and you got to remember, some of these folks were living with relatives and paying nothing, okay?
Yeah.
So, but on average, we just did a straight average, $900 per month per family was what they were paying.
Right.
For those who moved into a new Habitat house, they're paying $520. Okay, that is principal, no insurance, no interest, as we talked about, escrow for taxes and insurance, you know, just like any other mortgage. For those who move into a foreclosed home, it's even cheaper than that because we're selling them for roughly $30,000 less.
Wow.
So that cost saving is huge. It
Yeah.
changes their lives.
That really, that number, that was amazing, is that's the average that family is paying for rent. And to put them in a home, because rental is always a waste of money unless you like the freewheeling lifestyle where you don't cut grass and stuff like that. It definitely, it's an investment in our community.
Right.
Now we have value there, which we don't have when people rent. So that was the biggest thing. I mean, let's build 500 of them.
You know, one of the questions when Art's interviewing somebody to become an employee with Ragsdale, one of the questions he asks is, you know, do you live, where do you live?
Right.
And he looks for people who are rooted in the community. And one of the questions he asks in an interview is, do you own your home or do you rent it? And then he's gonna look at that just like any employer would. Of, okay, if you're renting your house right now, your roots are not deep. You don't have a lot
Yeah,
holding you.
absolutely.
So then if they say, no, I own my home, then he's looking at it as, okay, you have a reason to stay here and to stay employed.
Right.
Right.
One of the, I always get a kick out of watching videos from Habitat because I tell my wife, now watch this video and think we give away houses. And if you watch a lot of those, you'll walk away because it's very difficult to reconcile or break through the myths
Yeah.
by watching these. Because the videos always show the homeowner crying and shaking the keys and thanking and hugging people. And I want to scream. It's like, guys, they're not, so overjoyed because it's a free house. They're overjoyed because finally they have an opportunity to buy a house at the income bracket that they're
Yes.
in, that they can afford. And all these, it just takes too long, I guess, to explain.
Yeah, but I relate because I built a business and I know you've got the sweat equity and finally you're there, you've arrived, and I can understand the joy that somebody feels. I mean, they've been out there, hauling lumber and,
Right.
and everything else to put their own house together, and I think that is just,
Yeah, we
I
don't.
love that
We
part of
should
it. I think
almost
it's
say
great.
we don't give them a house. We give them an opportunity to buy a house.
Exactly.
You know? Oh, we do give them a free mower.
I was
Because we
going to
want the
ask
lawnmower.
about that
Okay.
too. I've seen the people that were just not prepared for home ownership, and I'm like, well, you got to have this thing called a weed eater and,
They
and a
receive
lawnmower.
a lawnmower, and they also receive a hose. But part of our sweat equity classes is the Living Smart classes.
Yes.
And that prepares them to become a homeowner
Right.
because of the educational
To
classes.
do the maintenance.
That's right.
Because you can have somebody live in a house 20 years, and literally it's only good to be bulldozed.
One of the classes teaches about rain barrels, how to save that water to go back and water your grass
Right.
instead of using the water that comes
And
into
they're
your house.
keeping down expenses.
Exactly.
I mean, that house is not free. You have to be able to pay that mortgage. Now, how does y'all's foreclosure process? how many missed payments? When do y'all start the
Oh, yeah,
process?
you had mentioned the default rate. Our default rate is less than 2%.
Right. So
And every bank in the country would kill for that. But the bottom line is if you pick good, hardworking people with character who will donate their time before
Right.
helping them themselves, then you're going to end up with good partner families who play by the rules. But if they don't play by the rules, we have our mortgage with all the thou shalt not rent, thou
Yeah.
shalt not borrow money against. All those covenants are built into the mortgage. So it's we trust, but we verify. How's that?
exactly. I like that. Trust but verify. I'm glad that y'all came on and you got
Thanks
a
for having
chance to tell the community. I'm ready to see a big presence here in Paulding, and of course, I'll be here to assist you in any of your other endeavors that you're doing here. And also, we need to get the information that we've got on this video out to the community so they don't think that somebody's coming to the community giving away free houses to people that don't work.
Right.
There's nothing any further from the truth. And I want to thank Ragsdale Heating and Air. Thank you for coming on, Chris. I admire the company so much and was not surprised to see that they were a very large supporter of this. Can you throw out a little bit of information on contacting you?
Sure.
Hopefully some of our business members of the community will see this and respond to you. So
Sure.
go ahead.
I have a satellite office in Douglasville, and the best way to reach me is the phone number. It's 770-489-8883. And then if you want to email me, it's just my last name is Wilhite, WILHITE, at nwmetroatlanta.habitat.org.
Or you can, the name of the initiative is Restoring the American Dream, restoreamericandream@gmail.com.
There you go.
That is another way of
It'll go the same
contacting us.
way. Good, good. And I wish y'all so much.
And we'll come out, talk to any business, anytime, churches as well. We're a Christian
Absolutely.
organization. We get a lot of support from the churches.
Yes.
So
That
any
would be
church
great. The
will-
churches could do the little bit of fundraising
That's right.
and explain to their congregation, which I'm sure,
feeds back into the community.
We have a lot of churches that do a lot of work, you've seen their other thing. Let the churches help. Well, the churches out here help, and I'll give them credit for that. So it was great meeting you all,
Thanks for
and
having me.
hopefully I'll have you back on maybe a year from now, and we'll see big things that happen from Habitat for Humanity here in Paulding.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.